All right. So what I wanted to know was two things. I have two major questions I wanted to ask you. The first one was, you ran the entire state of Kentucky. It's like a bourbon run where you ran the entire state
with a
of
team.
Kentucky.
We ran 200 miles.
Oh, you didn't run the entire state.
No.
It was a team of people, because that was going to be impressive. And we would change our podcast to Investor Run. Right. We would just, we literally would just change the whole thing, because that is super impressive. So you and a team of how many?
Oh, I knew you'd ask me that. I think there's 12 of us.
Okay. Well, that's,
so you rotate legs, and it takes about 24 hours to get it done.
Okay. So there's a driver. So there's basically a driver, and there's someone who takes you all around, or you're running literally.
No, it's the Bourbon Trail. So it starts kind of across from Burnham Forest, which is Jim Beam.
Right.
And we actually end in downtown Lexington. We have to circle Danville twice. But yeah, the runner, you all have assigned distances, and they kind of just kick you out of the van, and you do your run. They pick you up when you're done. If it's nighttime, if it's raining, if it's hot and sunny, there's no stopping. You just keep going.
Wow.
It's fun. And we stop at all the distilleries. So it's the Bourbon Trail, and celebrates Kentucky in the fall, which is beautiful.
Wow. That is, have you ever ran the Bourbon Trail?
I've ran into trouble on the Bourbon Trail.
Different kind of running.
Yeah, there must be people that have fallen
on the Bourbon Trail. Okay.
I actually ran 200 miles part of a team, but people do anything for bourbon, so it doesn't surprise me.
That is true. That is stubborn true. That's totally true. And so now here's the second thing I want to ask you about, because I saw this on Facebook. Okay.
All right.
So you kind of have to, you have to share more details about this. Okay. So there's a picture of you, not of you. There's a picture in your home, I would assume, and there's pillows on the floor, and it's like from the stairs. It's like this shot of all these pillows. And the thing is I've had fosters in our home and boys, and I can relate a little bit to that, being a forever boy myself. Can you illuminate what's going on in that
Absolutely.
In that picture?
So I posted it, so it's fair to ask.
Yeah.
I have 3 boys,
okay.
12, 10, and 5, so it's rambunctious. And in an effort to remove some screen time, it's either screen time and 0 miles per hour or 100 miles an hour.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was walking through my house, and I'm hearing the screams of children. And so upon discovery of an assessment of these screams being good screams or bad screams, I see my kids jumping off the landing into the basement floor. They collected all the pillows of my house, and they're shoving their brother down, and they're climbing over each other, and they're just wailing and having a great time. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but that's just the day in the life of my house.
So you're thinking, where your first thing was, oh, this is a medical issue?
Yeah, I was afraid
because if you're looking at, because I know my mom would have did the same thing. We used to imitate the wrestlers back in the day and just jump from the top rope onto their, I'm sure you did the same thing, man.
I did. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Roth.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's what, oh my gosh. My favorite guy was like Randy Macho Man Savage. There is no, just the energy, just the, I turn into a 12-year-old. Whenever I see clips, it's strolling on social media, I see clips and I just turn into a 12-year-old.
I know.
Just imagine. So this is fun. This is so fun. And we're going to talk about real estate today.
I love it.
And so my name is Milton Ali.
I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we want to welcome you to the Investor Tribe podcast.
It's the vibe, y'all.
Today we have, being 2025, we're so excited to have you here. We're going to have this is going to be, all right, I'm going to declare here, this will be the best podcast we've ever had. Okay. This is going to be one of the best for the books. Okay. Now, for everyone here that's watching, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And Elissa Withrow is with us today, and she is going to give us the answers to everything in life. Joining us today is Elissa Withrow, powerhouse in real estate leadership, starting her career in 2014 with Keller Williams. She built the Withrow Group into a top 1% team, producing over $35 million by 2019. She is passionate about teaching and skills and mindset needed for the real estate business. In 2020, she became CEO at Keller Williams Louisville East, guiding over 220 agents in business and growth. And she currently serves as a board of directors for the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors. Elissa, welcome to the Investor Tribe podcast.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. And I am pumped that this is going to be the best one. I'll live up to it.
Yeah, no pressure.
I know.
No pressure at all. I was just trying to hype it up because we're going to have a lot of great conversations today. Mm-hmm. And so what we wanted to do was kind of gather from you, what's your assessment so we're going to go into the macro a little bit because I know that the numbers came in roughly around 3.9 million for the entire United States. Mm-hmm. And that's a number that is just intense when you think about it. Hasn't been that low since 2008 when we were at about 3.77 million.
Right. And keeping in mind, not only is it a low number, but we took all but a free fall over the past 2 years. So a rolling 24 months backwards, it dropped $1 million and then again dropped $1 million in closed sales nationwide, which is significant for this industry.
Yes. And so what does that even mean? What do you see the trends going into this year, knowing that we've taken these steps, these 20% to 25% to 30% steps downward over the last few years? What do you see us? Where do you see us now? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's being said by a lot of the people that I follow that we have indeed hit the quote bottom. And where we're sitting right now at the top of 2025 is still a very low inventory market with interest rates that are not indicating to bounce down quickly or aggressively. So there's going to be a bit of market recovery, but it's going to be interesting because at the end of 2024 and going into the first of the year, we're seeing a better rate of recovery and price points that are over $400,000. It's an interesting market because 76% of homeowners have at least 50% or more equity in their property. So it's a tale of two markets. We've got people that are cash savvy.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So you said what was that percentage? 76% of homeowners
in the United States
have over 50% equity in their home.
That's correct.
So how does it kind of break that down for most Americans where so the tale of two markets that you're talking about, does that motivate me or does that serve as a disincentive?
It depends on your situation.
Okay.
Because I'll start with the tough side. The tough side is that most of these homeowners, if they still have a mortgage, they have an interest rate that they're not going to see again if they turn around and purchase something new. Right. But at the end of the day, you and I as realtors, we both understand that few people move because they feel like it, because it sounds fun that day. People move because they have to. Correct. They move because of diplomas and diapers and diamonds and divorces and death and all of those things. So the motivated are the people that absolutely have to. They have to make it work, and the cost of money is just a little bit more. But the good news is a lot of them have a nice equity to make solid moves. The challenge is the people that are trying to enter the market with these rates.
Okay.
That's still quite tight.
Okay. And way back in 2024, I've heard from several people, I'm just waiting until rates go down, or I'm waiting to see who wins the election. So there seemed to be some uncertainty. How much do you think that contributed to the lower sales numbers?
Historically, anytime there's an election, we tend to see a pause. We were expecting it and we saw it. But the other thing that we're experiencing is even despite some of our hopes, the rates are staying pretty flat. They're not dropping quickly. And I've read and heard that if they do continue to drop, it might take a few years and it will be incremental. So if you're somebody that's saying, I'm going to wait, that poses a huge danger because the amount of time that you're going to spend waiting for an interest rate to drop, you're losing all of that equity buildup as a homeowner when we're already in a nice equity environment. We appreciate 3 to 4% on average in most markets here. So I would hate to wait.
Are we still on that trend line?
Absolutely, we are.
Are we above the trend line due to the lack of inventory, you think?
You mean for the appreciation rate?
Yes.
No, there's a little bit of correction that we saw at the end of the year, and we'll have some new reports coming out that I'll review in February. We superseded that trend line. We overcorrected slightly. However, it's a trend line. So what we are expecting is the appreciation is going to slow down. I said the appreciation is going to slow down. We don't see any backward stepping in pricing. In fact, even, at the end of 2024, even in Jefferson County, the average price point was still $30,000 higher than it was compared to the beginning of the year. Prices aren't going backwards, but we are, thank goodness, we're seeing a deceleration of these spike in home prices.
So we're still moving forward. The vehicle is still moving forward. Mm-hmm. However, instead of going 90 miles an hour, we're now going like 65 to 70 miles an hour.
Correct.
Is that what I'm hearing?
It's still a time to be decisive, but it's not a time to wait. Here's how I also say it, is that when home buyers are coming to us and the realtors in our office and where we work, they say, well, should I wait? Should I pause? Is there something better on the other side?
Right.
And the answer is, unless you're going to be selling that property in 6 to 12 months, and unless you are buying in one of our micro markets that just doesn't have that strong appreciation, buying the right property for your family and taking good care of it and writing out that appreciation will protect you independent of the rates. Because again, when a trend line, you have to know that this is a historical measurement back to the 70s, the data that I look at. And no matter the market, no matter the president, no matter the interest rate, no matter what's going on in the world, it has stayed true, percent appreciation year over year.
So what are buyers telling you? You're out and about. Mm-hmm. Hampton, you're out and about. I'm out and about. And what are buyers telling you? And what are those conversations like? Because they have to be, I can tell you what they are for me, okay, and maybe you can share. So the conversations that I'm having is we're returning to the motivation. Why are you buying? Okay. What are your needs? What is for investors, what is your buy box, so to speak? And why? We're returning to, and we have to earn the why through our relationship. What is going on there? And so we're having these conversations. Mm-hmm. We're returning to the why. Mm-hmm. Why are you purchasing? What's important to you?
Well, that's one of the best skill sets that a strong real estate agent can even have, is the ability to ask questions and the maturity to assume nothing. And when we start to understand and peel back why they're doing it, when they're doing it, who the decision makers are, what's their purpose, what's their outcome, what's their non-negotiables, that's when we can jump right in and help them, because the inventory in front of us is what we have.
So what advice are you giving?
The advice to them.
That's okay. Hey, you're a realtor. You guys, will do work together. So I'm just along for the ride. I'm just here to get. They'll scratch my beard and look like I understand this all. So
you just came back from vacation. So that's the
little splash of flashiness.
Yes, there you go. There you go. So what advice would you give? And what advice? So Elissa, so go first and help us out.
Well, of course, the advice, depends on. The advice, depends on the buyer that we're working with, because there are lots of different buyers out there. But let's use the example so we can get on the same page. Let's use the example of the buyer entering the market for the first time. First-time home buyers, brand new marriage, brand new baby. We're starting life. We're at the bottom of this beautiful hill, right? What's that advice? And those fears that these buyers are bringing to the table, they're terrified to overpay for something. Another interesting thing that I think buyers today in the Louisville area are running into, we have a beautiful rental market. There's a lot of multi-family kind of apartments that are going up that are gorgeous with the amenities, and they're sparkling and they're wonderful, which is great. But my advice is this with homeownership. Young family, your number one wealth determinant is home purchasing, is home ownership. And if you want to get in the game, you do everything you can to prioritize paying down a mortgage and building equity, because the one thing you've got on your side right now, if and nothing else, is time. Use that. That is some of the best advice that you can give a young couple, or even if, even someone entering the market for the first time ever. Get in now, do everything you can, because again, Louisville is a fantastic place to buy great real estate. It's a pretty healthy market. When big cities are doing this on the real estate roller coaster, Louisville does this. It's just less extreme in the ups and downs.
I'll take care of that. So let me cancel this doesn't happen.
And so what I'm seeing is, so that's great advice for buyers, and some of the same things that I'm communicating to the buyers. What advice would you have for real estate investors? Is it still a good market in 2025 for real estate investors in Hampton? Can you take that?
Yeah.
Is it still a good market for real estate investors in 2025? Or should everybody just take their cards and go home?
Don't take your cards and go home. There's deals in any market, no matter where you are. And that's one of the mistakes I hear for investors. If they say, I'm not buying, I'll wait till rates come down, wait till prices come down. I know a couple of investors that bought anything in a couple of years now because of that. And I'm asking them, well, is your cash flow growing? Well, no, I haven't sold anything, I haven't bought anything. There's not their, analysis paralysis. Right. Or they've been
fear.
They've been spoiled, or they've been attuned to just paying X per house, and now they got to pay X plus 20, 30,000, and it hurts them physically. They don't want to do it, so they're waiting for the price to come back down, which may or may not ever happen. They may not find another deal in that neighborhood at that price, so they may go find their deals or force appreciation or change their strategy, be able to pivot a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I know some investors that they stuck with one thing. It worked. They like 3-bedroom, 1-bath ranches in this neighborhood. Right. And you used to get them $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. We had a great, low prices, good rents. And now they're all over 100,000, and they're not buying those. And so some are waiting on the sidelines. Some are changing their strategy. And I know.
Are they waiting for a crash, Hampton?
Wait for a crash or a correction, or they just they're apprehensive. They refuse to pay certain prices. So some of the more successful investors, the couple I've worked with, have talked to, is they've expanded their area. So they're going outside of that neighborhood. They're going outside of the city, and they're looking for a house that still meet their buy box, but they're willing to expand their horizons a little bit. And some of them are looking for opportunities for forced appreciation or unrealized value. So they're going out and buying the 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses they're big enough to add a 3rd bedroom, or you can finish up the basement or finish up the upstairs. And they're adding more square footage or adding more value, but they're still paying a lower price. They're ending up with a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, but they paid for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
That makes sense.
And you adjust.
Yeah, and that's and that's really solid advice that we tend to give our clients and the people that are in our circle that are part of the tribe. And so what I wanted to kind of pivot is to ask you, what are your thoughts on, is Louisville a good market to invest in 2025?
Absolutely. Louisville is a fantastic market to invest in, largely because the people that will be taking advantage of your investment, they are in a relatively low or moderate cost of living. This is a great place to live. So if I'm a home investor, I want to attract people that are going to come home and live in Louisville, Kentucky. And the neat thing about Louisville as well is that there's several micro pockets and small towns that are kind of growing in their own right. And it's super fun because as an investor too, you can play to lots of different types of tenants and clients that are going to come in and occupy the properties that you're purchasing.
Yeah, it's secret. This is a real secret right now. One of the best kept secrets is LaGrange, Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that LaGrange, Kentucky is going to look like Middletown in the next 5 to 10 years
Yes.
is astonishing. They celebrate 200 years this year, and it's going to be absolutely amazing for that community. And I totally love that. And so what I wanted to do was switch gears a little bit. And that
Yes, I hate to say going back in time, but I want to hear kind of how you got started. I know suppose we start off with that, but
like real estate altogether?
yes, what started this journey? And I know you're very knowledgeable. You know what you're doing. I know it's been a while, but tell us how you got started.
Well, it's funny. This is my second career, like most real estate agents. I was a physical therapist for 10 years. So not only can I help you buy a house, I can also fix your shoulder. So it's kind of a literally. So yeah, I get that a lot. But no, but on a serious note, I got out of my first career because I thought I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. It was right around the time my first son was born. And I did that for about 6 weeks and realized that was way too hard. And I quit, and it was. I adore my kids.
I love my kids, but I cannot be at home with you. And I feel the exact same way. I'm like, we love kids.
I love them.
Love kids.
Yes.
We have fosters for over a decade.
I know.
But I cannot stay all day with.
No, and I love working. And I didn't know it at the time, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart. But real estate showed me that. So my husband was in real estate. He beat me to the punch by 5 years. So when I left my first career, I thought I was going to get licensed and be his administrative assistant. And that never happened. Instead, I got in and I was exposed to some of the best training I've ever experienced. And I primarily was exposed to the fact that I can build a business out of this. And I immediately fell in love with the business of real estate, not just the transaction. I fell in love with what I could do with the vessel of real estate. And we leaned in and built a team immediately. And that was, success is simple, not easy. Like a child, it was the hardest, best thing I did. It's still the hardest, best thing that I do. And it's been that way ever since. And then 4 years ago, they started tapping me on the shoulder. So I did what any responsible human does. And I make a job change in 2020 with a 1-year-old at home. And,
2020 or
I took the leadership position in October of 2020.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
in the middle of the apocalypse.
Exactly. So if you just want to feel what it's like to be tested, do something really new and different in the middle of a pandemic. But the neat thing was everybody was going through the pandemic. So we had a playing field where we all were exposed, and in good ways, bad ways, challenging ways, but we all were exposed. We had to figure out what we were good at. We had to lean in. We had to be technologically savvy. We had to know our conversations and sharpen our skills. And we did that through real estate. And here we are today, honestly, still doing that to this day.
That is awesome. We're going to get right back to that. And we're going to talk about today's sponsor, which you can find us on all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook at The Louisville Investor. You can find us on YouTube at INB Tribe. You can also find us on IG and X.
Yep, at INB Tribe also.
See, and you can find us if you would like to join us. If you have a story you would like to share, you can reach out to us at our socials, or you can email us, and the email will be right below. You can also reach out if you would like to sponsor our program. We are looking for partners to join us in our mission, investors.
We want to hear your story. We want to educate the tribe. We're all better and stronger together, and we can learn from each other's experiences. We can learn from each other's mistakes. So we want to hear all about you and your business, and look forward to you being a sponsor on Investor Tribe.
That is absolutely amazing. Join us. And for more conversation, you can find more of this conversation on YouTube at INB Tribe. All right. So what we wanted to do was, I wanted to kind of get the lay of the land for real estate professionals. Okay. If we can get a lay of the land of the real estate professionals, the realtors that serve the community every day within the Louisville metro area, where are we sitting in 2025 as far as agent count?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors, there's about 5,500 agents, 5,500 agents.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so and to my understanding, you were sharing something. I forgot where this was, or because I follow you, low key. I'm, low key stalking on social, trying to read all your stuff that you put out. And so you literally said something that blew my mind. 50% of agents don't sell anything.
That I know exactly the stat you're talking about. That's a stat that I pulled the year before. And okay. I pulled that stat again for the purpose of our conversation. Of those 5,500 agents that are in the board, 27% did less than 3 deals. So what's interesting is that, thank goodness, has improved, but we still have a large representation of the board that isn't running this at a high level business. The other stat that we see every single day is that in a normal market, 20% of the agents are going to do 80% of the business. And when markets start to contract and get a little tougher, you're going to start to see something along the lines of more like 10% of the agents are going to be taking on 90% of the business, because independent of the number of agents who have a license and are members of the board, the people that are running this like a business are always going to be there showing up, helping people buy and sell houses.
So how does that break down? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was thinking the same thing, the breakdown per capita.
Yeah.
How many listings roughly are there versus the number of agents?
Oh.
I know that may fluctuate a bit.
It's a moving target, and I took it down as of about 4:30 this morning. There were 2,700 active listings in Galar. So that represents all the listings that are not commercial, in other words, residential, land, and then 4 and under unit.
So when you're thinking about capita, I know when I introduced myself as an agent to some of my friends when I first got into business, one of my frenemies is how I'll describe him, is he said, "No, I know 7 other agents."
Okay.
I know 7 others. Mm-hmm. So do you think that there is a saturation? Is there room for more? Or do you think we're crowded? Or do you think there's room for more? I know that kind of puts you in a tight kind of spot as a question, but.
I mean, mathematically, yes, we're absolutely crowded, because 2,700 active listings and 5,500 agents. If you start to do a little bit of math, it doesn't quite balance out. And the law of averages just can't apply to our business, because to say that an agent on average sells this many houses or on average makes this much money, it's not a good representation, because again, it's very, very, it's concentrated on the agents who are in business. When you are in business, it proliferates business. So yeah, we hear all the time, or our common worry. I talk with a lot of agents who are entering the business. I'm so worried because there are 6 people in my family and 8 people in my church who have their real estate license. That's great. And put your blinders on, set some goals, be intentional. How are you going to show up and serve? How are you going to show up and run a business? Because at the end of the day, people are going to hire you because it's a relationship business. They need to know, love, and trust you at some level. But then how are you the expert? How are you going to show up and do the job? And that's how you'll compete, independent of however many agents are on the board every time.
I love that, Hampton.
I was trying to think, I've heard different things, regardless of the business, whether it be real estate or, marketing, whatever. So be memorable, be different, be the best you can be visible, be accessible. You hear different things. So I know there's different keys to success for realtors. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of realtors over the years. Some people come out of the business, new people go in. But you're right, people that approach like a business, and they put their nose to the grindstone, or they do something different, or they apply themselves. They run it like a business, and professional and knowledgeable, and like, and trust them. They're getting the business. And those that aren't or haven't learned or don't want to put in the time or the commitment, a lot of times they're falling out, or they're moving on to other things, because it's not real estate. Say it can be simple, but it's not. You got to put in the time and put in the work, and
that's for investors too.
Oh, absolutely.
That's for investors too. I mean, we live in a culture that is looking for the easy button for everything. Yes. This is a business where you have to show up. There has to be effort. There has to be intention, or beyond intention, actions taken in order for you to move forward with your real estate portfolio, in order to build a portfolio, in order to sell real estate. no matter where we fall, we have to make that investment in taking massive action.
Okay.
And so when you're thinking about the culture and different things, I wanted you to talk about how are we hiring agents? A lot of investors and a lot of buyers and sellers are watching, and they're now somewhat confused on how to even hire an agent right now.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. They said that there was a standard commission that went away, and they're saying that now you don't have to pay anyone. You can kind of, everyone doesn't have to use a realtor anymore. And the realtors are thinking that the sky is falling. I mean, so you got all these different things. Can you speak to the regulatory changes?
Yeah, absolutely. 2024 was a big year for us, for realtors, because if you haven't heard, for whatever reason, there was a giant settlement by the National Association of Realtors that established a very significant change in the way that we communicate and the way that we're compensated. But what's most interesting, in having lived through it and watched the dust settle, in our everyday work and the way that we speak and the way that we show up, far less has changed for us than what we might have predicted. When we were on the other side of it, there was a lot of fear that that compensation would be challenged, that the industry might be different, that representation might show up differently. And while everything is changing at all times, what has not is that a highly skilled professional realtor, as part of the transaction, will protect the buyer, will maximize the seller, and it will get the deal closed at a higher rate than people who do not hire a professional who knows exactly what they're doing. What rose to the top and what created this culture, and I actually see incredible beauty in this. I'm grateful for this. I lead a lot of agents. I lead people and teaching them how to build their businesses. This was a leveled field of being able to step up and not just be able to articulate your value. That's starting to become a little bit of a fad word, value. But what it made us do as professionals is go back and understand ourselves. What do we bring to the table? How are we different? Why does this matter? How are our clients protected? How are they making and keeping more money? And I got to reestablish and get really, really clear on what I was already bringing and fill in the gaps and elevate my standard to be even better, because now I'm invited to have a completely open conversation, an open dialogue with my client about what my compensation is worth and why my client cares about that and why they would hire me as opposed to anything else. It's exciting. I think it's wildly positive. And the agents who have adopted that are sailing right now. So get out of the fear. People don't work for free. We bring a lot to the table, and I'm passionate about that. And everybody wins. And this settlement has just been just a reshifting of how we talk about it and how we document it technically.
What I wanted to do to wrap this up, and we thank you so much for your time, was what I wanted to know was what was maybe 2 or 3 takeaways from 2024 that really jumps out to you?
Oh. Well, it was a big year with the settlement. It was huge, especially as a leader and taking other professionals through this. Leading people through a storm is not the easiest thing. Getting people out of fear and I always say lighting the path. Our job in this profession is not to necessarily have all of the answers at all the times, because the second a realtor is predicting the future, you need to wave a big red flag and be careful about that, by the way. But our job...
We were going to ask you for predictions.
So I know. And I'll give you insights. I'll give you insights.
So you're like, so if we do predictions, you're doomed. Thank you.
They'll be my indicators. They'll be well hypothesized indicators.
Okay.
But through that, though, having gone through 2024, especially still recovering from pandemic with our industry, the biggest thing that nothing is ever as bad or good as it feels in the moment. And with that, that's not to be a Debbie. That's just a very realistic, very sobering, buckle down, keep your blinders on, stay focused, kick out the noise, and trudge through with your goals. Because especially as it relates to real estate, people are not going to stop buying and selling. They're not going to stop renting, investors. People are always going to want a roof over their head. But we have to figure out how to be agile and constantly adapt so that we can figure out how to get it done in the best interest of the people that we serve. And to be relentless in that pursuit and be willing to be wrong and start over and try something different. Fail forward, fail often, fail fast.
Awesome.
Yep.
And last question here. what would be your bold assessment?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yes.
Okay, I can sign up for that word.
Bold assessment for 2025, because we are entering a year of uncertainty as of every year.
Yes.
Or are we?
Technically, every year is uncertain. We have no idea what tomorrow brings.
That's true.
At the same time, I am absolutely thrilled for 2025. We have had so many lessons learned, and we've been through so much, especially with regards to the rates and buyers' ability. What makes it is that the general population, the people who will be transacting in 2025, the cost of money is way more accepted than it was 12 months ago. The cost of doing business is this price. The good news is there's no indicator right now that the interest rates are going to take any sharp turn one way or the other. There's no indicator that home prices are going to be falling out, which should be bringing confidence to people who want to enter the market, right? So we've got these indicators that are kind of a dust settling. Now, houses are no longer ATMs. We're still going to be taking sellers through that mindset, and I don't bring any judgment to that, because it felt like we were just running the debit card there for a couple of years. That's gone. Take your Men in Black zapper and you go ahead and take care of it, because it's gone. That's unsustainable. What we have to think about and get excited about is that's not good for the economy. If we drop to 4s and 3s, something is wrong. That I can tell you for a fact. We don't want to see that. But I think that in the housing market...
So if we go to a 4% interest rate or a 3% interest rate, there is something wrong in the broader economy.
In the broader economy, is crashing.
Beyond a recession.
Oh, it's absolutely a recession. Right now, the housing industry just went through its micro recession while the rest of the economy did not. So if we see interest rates dipping fast and low, there are other things happening in the economy that will not be favorable for us, and we don't want to see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
And so where do you see a healthier, back to our beginning point where we sold 3.9,
Yep.
which it hasn't been that low in 15
Ever,
years, right? It hasn't
Yep.
been that low in 15 years. What do you see, crystal ball? I asked you to bring one today.
I know. Let me guess.
Yes.
Well, I will tell you this, and this is it's not a crystal ball. It's historical data. A normal, healthy, thriving interest rate is 6%. That's not a guess. It is, if you go back in history and you take a look at a healthy interest rate back into mid-70s, it is 6%. And that's actually down adjusted a little bit, taking into account the artificial low rates that we've been experiencing for the past years. But when we're sitting at 6, it's important that we understand this is a healthy cost of money. This will help us get into more of a balanced market, because we still are 2.5 months inventory, and a balanced market is 3 to 6. We're not there. We've got to see, I think in 2025, we are seeing the inventory climb. We're seeing days on market go up a little bit. We're just normalizing, which we should. Buyers deserve an overnight to think about a decision. I don't get excited when I look at a buyer and I say, you have 30 minutes to make a choice on this 50,000 over list is going to get it. Gone are those days. In most cases, there's still competing offers. I think in 2025, we're going to continue to normalize. Confidence is going to go up, and people are going to accept the fact that this is how we do business if we're going to buy and sell real estate.
And that 6% healthy rate talking about there, are you figuring in over time like a 3% inflation? So it's about 3% above inflation, whatever the inflation rate is, an interest rate about 3% more, give or take, is healthy.
Yeah, that accounts for the fact that the feds are going to always shoot for a 2% inflation. And what we saw is we went up over, our inflation rate went 7-8% there for a short time, which is why we had the feds induce a recession to the housing market to slow the price increases. We had to slow that down. That was the only way that we could pump the brakes, which is, again, the reflective of the fact that we're still seeing hopefully a float down to 6 in 2025.
That is amazing. What we want to do is thank you so much for your time. Will you come back?
I would be honored to come back.
Because what we're going to do is we're going to play this and really come back and see if this was were we in alignment today, or was there something else that happened? So we're going to bring you back, and we'll figure out what kind of title, but you are a member of the tribe.
Thank
we
you.
want to thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we'll catch you on the flip side of the Investor Tribe.
The Investor Tribe podcast is a production of the Investor Tribe. To learn more, visit invtribe.com.